Obviously, coming off a tough one the other night, a lot of character. I think on a lot of fronts for us. Have I think the number 2 defense in college basketball, protecting the rim, and gave up 100 really at the rim. And that was on me. We got away from doing a couple things that we normally do very well, then just you don't make shots, you don't guard, things get a little bit off kilter. But it's the one thing about a long season, you're going to have a stinker in there. I think every year we've had a couple, and you've got to grow up and learn from it and move forward. Your reward is the team that's picked to win the league on their home court. So that's next up mentality in the Big Ten, and I think our guys bounced back yesterday and understood we were a little bit off, and understood that we didn't play with the same energy that we had been, and that we've got to raise that bar. Indiana's a team that's has been playing without Malik. Ballo has stepped up and has been a huge force for them. They had a tough one the other night at Iowa, but prior to that game, been playing really well. They had inserted Luke in the lineup, and they've been really solid. So a team that's been pretty solid at home, and a team that's got a really good lead guard in Rice, as Pac-12 Player of the Year last year, I think, or one of them, and then Ballo from Arizona, holding down things at the front of the rim. So good basketball team, picked to win it for a reason, and we'll have to bounce back and play really well.
How important is returning to form at the rim with the challenge of Ballo?
Yeah, I mean it's one thing with our schedule. We've seen some size, and we've seen some good interior play. It was more just about scheme and what we did, and it was USC's different than Indiana in terms of style and the way they do things. But I hope it's kind of back to form. And he's a load. He's big. He's old. He's a veteran, and he's good at what he does.
Like last year, you were so old. If you had a stinker like that, you guys had been around college basketball.
We had one last year. We had Maryland.
Right, but like this team, maybe not as old. Like, what's your role in helping flush that, or who's in there flushing that quickly? Yeah,
and I think it's everybody's accountability, including mine. And but the one thing we do is use our saying, everyday guys. When you get beat, you're going to get beat when you play people. And you play good people, and USC's a good basketball team, and they've played like a top 20 team. They've lost some close games, but you're going to have those. Everybody in the leagues at some point will have them, but it's just the ability to move on and not accept them, but learn from them. And we talk about that a lot. There's 2 choices when you lose, and our guys were incredible yesterday. Their accountability for their mistakes, for their lack of effort, for us not rebounding, for us not playing with any pressure defensively, all those things. And so it's everybody's got to step up and be a little bit better and do things a little bit harder.
Do you expect KJ to be available tomorrow?
Don't know.
Was him? We probably should have asked this a while ago. Is that something that happened in the Washington game? It is.
I guess because Saturday was so out of character, and does that make the fix easier? Is there more concern because it was so different than maybe what you'd seen?
Well, let's not forget, we've got a lottery pick that didn't play, so everybody gets a little bit out of their role becomes a little bit different, and that can't happen. You just have to do it longer and harder, but your role can't change. We had guys, trying to do too much and not staying within what has been very successful for us. And we were fine in the Penn State game, and a lot of times you can handle that initial one okay, and then the second one, it's sure not going to be that easy. And but I thought we had guys do some things uncharacteristically, and we were just flat, and you put it all together, and you get the USC game. And so we've got to get back. Whether KJ's in the lineup or not, we've got to get back to elevating each other on the offensive side and playing much, much harder and more aggressively on the defensive side.
How much is game planning impacted not knowing whether or not you'll have KJ? Does that change? You have to make 2 plans. Like, how do you go about that?
I didn't do a very good job of that in the first one. I felt like I should have been in a position to do some things differently. I won't get into the specifics of that, but we sure weren't defined enough. We worked on it, but we just weren't defined enough in how we needed to do that, and that's the tough part of that. So,
What will it be like seeing Luke in their uniform?
yeah, you know what? No one loves Luke Goody more than I do, and Luke was a special part of this program. Will always be a special part of this program, and there was no one any more coachable. There was no one that made any more improvement. He was a part of 2 championships. He was a part of 3 NCAA tournaments, and integral parts of them. A guy that broke his foot and was starting his sophomore year and breaks his foot, and then rehabs and recovers and does everything that he can do to come back and help his team. And Luke was, the thing about Luke is not only a really good player, but even a better teammate. And guys make decisions for various reasons and whatever that is, but Luke's always one of my guys. I always look at him that way. He graduated from the Geese School of Business in 3 years. Outstanding student, outstanding person, outstanding family. And it'll be, it'll look different seeing him, run up and down and probably make a few balls, but Luke's still in a line on me.
What's that do for your second unit when someone like Dre feels like it's just a spark of energy every time he goes out there?
He played 31 minutes the other night, and I mean it's nice to be able to have a guy that could step into that role when needed. And I thought that he's a good 2-way player. He's doing it on both sides defensively. I thought his energy defensively was really good, especially in the first half. Created some easy opportunities for us, but he's a guy that can go get a shot anytime he wants, and that's invaluable. And he's one of the few guys we have that can do that.
Your rotation had to change with KJ having an open role in the lineup. Just what's that maybe done to that group? Where talk about defined roles. They had kind of the same thing for 13 straight games, and then it changes.
Yeah, it's hard. It's no different. It's no different than a young man transferring, and it's change. It's different, and we've got a guy who's a primary handler for us and initiates everything we do. What we have put in place is largely in part to having multiple ball handlers and KJ being the head of the snake, so to speak, at that position. And and not only that, he's one of our better perimeter defenders. So you lose 6'5" and size and length on the perimeter defensively, and a guy who's got the ball in his hands, a very high amount of the time, and that's taken away. So that's shifted everybody and put a tremendous responsibility, not just on Kylan, but everybody else. And Kylan plays in foul trouble the other night, and we're shifting a lot of things. So things get out of kilter, a little bit when you lose a guy that's a lottery pick, and we've always had guys that can step up, and we're making those adjustments.
And then the other night you said you could have used Tommy differently. When you went back and watched and evaluated, what did you see on what you wish?
Oh, we needed him for usage. We needed him defensively. He's graded out 2 of the 3 highest scores we've had in defensive grade outs. He's smart. Tommy's really, really intelligent. He's an elite problem solver. And to be able to do that and fly on the court and make those decisions, and then to play offense through him. He's a guy that can really pass. He's we know he can shoot it, but he's a guy that does all the little things really good. Screener, flips screens, and we just we didn't utilize him in a very good manner the other night.
You used the term problem solving defensively a few times in the last week. What's that look like? And is that anything that you maybe do as a coaching staff, or is that organically kind of?
Yeah, it's just the random. It's handling the random. It's handling the stuff that you're not necessarily prepared for or go over in a scout, and it stresses the defense. It's something that that a guy who's really high IQ understands. He communicates it. He solves the problem. He helps when help's needed, and he doesn't help when help's not needed. And those are little things that I think we all strive for, and especially on the defensive side. And nothing's ever perfect on that side, and doesn't go just like you planned. And so when you can solve problems like that and help your teammates in that process, those guys are invaluable.
I know it doesn't change the way you prepare at all, but when it comes to these rivalries like Illinois, Indiana, do you need to give context to your new guys, especially your international guys, any education, or is it just another road game?
No, I think it's just another game. I think that we've tried to handle those situations. I think that they're probably smart enough to and I've lost the battle of trying to get them all off social media. So I think they're probably pretty dialed into those type of situations. They know who's picked to win the league. They know who's winning in the league. Those guys are but it's one of 20, and good basketball team as they all are in this league, and we're just going to go in with the approach that we've got to be better than we were in the last one, and keep learning and keep growing, and understand for us it's the process. It's the process, and just keep getting better. We took a step back. We lowered our floor the other night instead of raising it. We're still not close to our ceiling, but we didn't raise the floor any, and we got to learn from that. And that's the process this group's going through.
How do you balance the idea of, we hear coaches all the time, let's not let 1 turn into 2 and 3 and 4, but also not wanting to see your guys sense any panic in a changing routine?
Yeah, I don't worry about that at all, because I can't control what's going to happen in the future. So all I can control is what's going to happen in the moment, and trying to get this group to understand the process. And I'm a very process-oriented guy, and sometimes that you look up and you can do a lot of things right in your process, and the other team has more points. That happened early. We did a lot of things right. We did a lot of things bad. But it's just to keep improving, and then put yourself in a position that process, you're doing a lot of things really well, and it's towards the end of the season, and you can win. So winning and losing is part of the process. It's just like making shots. Sometimes you can't control all the variables and whether it goes in or not. You just got to keep shooting and keep doing what you do, and that's our approach. And especially with a young team, especially with a team that has been without our lottery pick for a couple games. So it's just the disappointing thing in our last game is we didn't play very hard. Just plain and simple, we didn't play very hard, and we were really out of character with that, and that's not something that's ever going to be acceptable with me.
Ben also talked about floors and ceilings. Do you talk about that with this
All
group?
the time.
You do?
All the
Is that new
time.
for you?
All the time. It's just it's just continuing to try to get guys to strive to be their best, It's the work ethic that you have to have. There's plateaus in everything. You get off to a great start, and then you're going to plateau, and you're going to settle in, and then it's not always easy working through that plateau. But when you get through it, you're always better, and we're trying to master something that's you can't master. You can't master the game of basketball. It's imperfect, but you got to keep raising your floor, and it's just my way of using terminology to try to get them to be the best they can be, knowing it's a long season and there's a lot of emotions, there's a lot of things that go on, there's injuries, there's sickness, and you can't control everything. But it doesn't mean I can't keep trying to raise the floor so that we can hit the ceiling at some point. And those are things that we talk about a lot. And we didn't do that the other day. Our floor took a couple, we dropped a couple floors, just because our effort and our mental focus wasn't where it needed to be. Thank you.
Thanks, Brad.